Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this meeting of Scrutiny Finance Review Group. I read out the little script that I've been given before we start. The meeting will be live streamed to the public, and a recording will be available within 24 hours of the meeting. I don't know whether we have any officers joining us remotely. If we do, would they please turn their cameras on and their microphones, obviously, when speaking. Use the hands up icon to indicate a question or comment if they want to intervene, and turn microphones and cameras off when finished. But those in the chamber, please remember to switch microphones on when speaking and speak directly into the microphone and switch it off again when you've finished. Would all of those in the council chamber please switch mobile phones off or place on silent mode, which reminds me I must do the same. Give me a second. Okay, done that. Apologies. We have apologies from Jill Fry, who is substituted by Matt Fry. And do we have any others?
Thank you, Chair. We've got Councillor Mahmood Hussain. Apologies have been received from Councillor Mahmood Hussain. Thank you.
Thank you. Minutes of the 27th of October. Can I sign those? Anybody got any questions, problems? Yes? Okay, I'll sign those later if nobody's got any queries or questions. Chair's update. I'm pleased to let you know that in looking at the fees and charges for the forthcoming financial year, the Executive agreed to our suggestion to maintain the 10 months collection of garden waste rather than reduce it to 9. So I think we can feel quite pleased that that very sensible suggestion has been accepted. Are there any declarations of interest, please, from any members for this evening? No? Okay.
Just Councillor Franks being a landlord, because the council tax items on there, but I've got no pecuniary interest in it, just declaring the fact that I'm a landlord.
Yeah, as I understand the rules, Councillor Khan, you need to declare an interest, if anything, that refers specifically to properties that you're involved in. Otherwise, yeah, okay, thank you for that. Section 106, I don't believe we have any Section 106 items. No, thank you very much. Urgent business. Yes, I've got, it says here, Michelle Griffin's going to present the business safety or building safety regulators determination. I guess this is on the stage project, is it? Thank you very much. Welcome to the meeting.
Thank you, Chair. I hope that you've all seen the good news, but anyway, last Friday on the 14th of November, we got the BSR determination for the stage development. This means that we have already instructed mobilisation and work will commence on Monday the 5th of January on the development. It means that we will start on site, which is absolutely brilliant news. We've got there.
At last.
At last.
I think we can pretty much unanimously say thank you to you and the other officers for the perseverance and for actually pushing to get this decision, which, had the government got themselves organised properly, could have come a lot sooner.
Absolutely. And Chair, could I just have it noted? I mean, Wilmot Dixon have worked very hard and built a very good working relationship with the Building Safety Regulator, which has helped us get through. I know it's taken a long time, but it has really helped us push it through as of last Friday.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay. Thank you very much for the update.
Thank you, Chair.
So we move on to finance updates. Dev, do you have anything you want to advise us before we move on to the debt write-offs?
Yes, Chair. So, as mentioned last time, we have been working on the Q2, and we wanted to get Q2 as accurate as possible because the budget 26-27 will be based on what the position is on Q2. So, it has been finalized today. That's gone down to the wire to get the numbers as robust as possible, and it's going down. It will be dispatched to executive tomorrow. So the executive meeting is on the 1st of December. So I can brief you because the papers will be sort of dispatched. So that's why I said, as and when I get firm figures, I will brief FRG. But the executive report will be coming to FRG, much more detailed discussion. So based on the latest figures, which, as I said, I've got the report in front of me, is the Q2 forecast for areas like special education and need transport is more or less under control. So we had significant overspend in prior years, but now it's more or less breaking even. The areas of homelessness, we had significant, that's more or less under control, is more or less breaking even. Adult social care is much more, so there is a slight overspend, but the overspend has not gone up significantly from Q1 to Q2, so that is under control. The area in terms of children's services, that's the area which we got pressures. And this is mainly coming from not increase in numbers, but an increase in the costs. So this is very much the provider market. There's a sort of, in terms of getting placement and complexity. So a lot of discussion is taking place, a lot of work is happening, but that's an area has had a sort of quite a significant fluctuation between Q1 and Q2 in the region of 3.5 million. But on the positive side, the corporate, because you will see there's capital program, slippage and some capital program was not going to happen, in stage being one of them, it's going to start now. So the slippage in capital program is bringing an upside of nearly 1.4 million. If you take 3.4, 1.4 is 1.6. So further work is taking place, Chair, is to say what else can be done between now, but on the positive side, those areas where last year had significant overspend, I think those, the forecasting, the managing of cost and demand is getting sort of to there in the results. So things can change because we winter pressures and everything, but right now we are quite, So children's services area where we have to sort of focus and put all the effort. So we're discussing and in terms of putting more project management, more finance support, more transformation support, and try to focus and So that's the latest update. So that report will be in going to executive and then is coming back to FRG for much more detailed discussion. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Any questions? I got two. Councillor Carr.
I'm really pleased to say that you've got a better understanding now of the pressure points and there is an increasing demand. But as we've said in the past, that the really savings are to be made when we place children closer to home or look at those joint ventures where we look at building those residential places, because if you look at the overall cost, 3/4 of the budget is being spent on adult social care and children's services. So transportation and accommodation, these are your biggest spend. And we still are not sure whether we got the right model for PTU yet. And we're none the wiser to know whether you've got any projects designed to have that accommodation locally. Is there any news? Are there any joint ventures? It's been much talked about, but we haven't seen anything come through yet.
In terms of PTU, so lots of work, and the Send Transport was linked with PTU, so that work has already sort of started, and that's one of the reasons the Send Transport is going to more or less break even. So some of the buses and everything, there will be a program with already starting in to use our own fleet more, and then trying to provide transport to in terms of bus and using more our drivers and everything. So that PTU, when you will see the report coming out, there's much more work has taken place on that. Coming back to your, in terms of children's services specifically, there was this project where we got Wigmore Hall, so that's a Horizon House, so we're trying to build our own sort of, rather than expensive residential placement, we'll try to provide for children, and that project, there is a little bit delay on that. That project, we are trying to bring it back. My understanding is by mid of next year. So that will hopefully reduce the reliance on expensive placement, and some of them says out of borough. So those are things happening. Whether that model, if it's successful, it's a trial, and if it's successful, we can look at expanding. But the point you're making is probably in order to have a more influence on the provider market, probably more partnership working with other local authorities when you can have bigger projects. But that's something which the department is looking at, and to say, rather than having one sort of residential home for 4 kids, you can have one with 20. There's more resilience, there's more synergies in terms of just having the staff and above the staff. So those are the things we are looking at, and children's services are looking at much more how we can look at in terms of commissioning as well, the point you made. So that's being looked at. Adult social care has already been a bit more advanced in terms of looking at the commissioning. So the officers' council is putting quite more resources on those areas, because the biggest spend in the council, if you look at, is children, adults, and housing. That takes 80% of the budget. But those are the areas where children, adults, and vulnerable people, you can provide the service, safeguarding, and everything. So that's what department are working on. And this is not, I would say, it's not just for the council, it's a bit across the, I'm sure Councillor Khan, on children, the providers, some of them, like in terms of venture capitalists, and sometimes they manage and control part of the market. So it's very difficult if you have to place a child, and some costs, I'm sure, were $500,000. So it's a need of the child, which is quite important as well. Yeah.
The point you mentioned, that it's not just unique to us, other councils are under similar pressures. So why not looking at collaboration, whether it's us, Bedfordshire, us, Hertfordshire, any other boroughs within the vicinity? Have we started any engagement? Have we started talking to anyone or not?
My understanding, and we'll get a much more detailed sort of response from the corporate directors, but last time when I was looking at, there was some initial discussion taking place, but I will get a much more detailed sort of response from department. For adults, we've built a couple of things. So we had some grant with children, grant from DFE. So whenever there's opportunity to get some additional grant and to build those, bring those residential placement in-house, we're doing. The point you're making, maybe it has to be done at scale. Yeah. So there's discussion taking place, but how far did advance, I don't know. I will get a response. I'll make a note of that. Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Shaw.
I'm not sure what that says is 100% correct, Chair, especially with the SEN education and the passenger transport unit. Because what's happening with post-16s is we're sending them out of the borough, or we're recommending placements outside the borough, and then we're arguing with them over the cost of the transport to get to the placement we've put them in outside the borough. To me, that is completely and utterly wrong. If we don't want that argument, and what's happening is a lot of those people, because of their pitch part of the payment for transport, the cost of going to that to receive their post-16 education is costing more than the PICS element, what they get, the transport element, their PICS. And it's just fundamentally wrong. And what makes it even worse, as far as I'm concerned, the councillors can't take part in any appeals after stage 1 of the appeal. That's not a pure finance point of view, that's for elsewhere in the council. Can we have a report back on the finance of what it's costing the families on top of what the council pays for that transport to for pupils what are being placed in colleges outside Luton Borough?
Yeah, I made a note of that. Yeah. So how much it's costing families and the transport for post 16 who are placed outside the borough. So I will get it to the service and I'll get that cost. Yeah. Yeah, I'll do that, Chair. Yeah.
Okay, yes, Councillor Fry.
Yeah, it's in your forecast figures, have you included the exceptional items such as the Denby primary situation?
Is that to do with the construction and the repairs? No, that has not been factored in. This is something they're working on, how much will it cost, and it's quite, and they're working whether it will be covered by insurance, so that has not been factored. That's a good question, but that's one of the things is when you got the firm figures, how much will it cost and who is going to pay, schools or general fund, these are something we're looking at. But what the reassurance officers are giving is important to make sure those remedial work are done and those pupils who are in those to have proper sort of education carries on. So that is the priority, but at the same time, you're right, they're working on the cost, how much it will cost. Yeah, I'm making note of that. I can get something, if the department are quite advanced in terms of how much it costs, I will get the department to send something to members here. But absolutely, it's not factored in, as far as I know, because it's a big number. I would have noticed it. Yeah, yeah.
Just as a follow-up, are there any other items that haven't been included?
Which are excluded here, not to my knowledge. Yeah. So I think these areas are quite big budget. Yeah. So forecasting, when we met, we said forecasting was, so we're getting better at that. So we're trying to focus not for this year, but what this will have an impact going forward, but at the same time, what are the mitigation plan we are putting in place, and what are the demographic costs and demand management. So it's quite, so we are getting better at that. So that's why I'm saying some of these areas are more or less focusing, but the children one we're trying to understand much better. But to my knowledge, no, other than, especially when you talk about children, if you can 1 or 2 cases, it's £1 million. Yeah, and then those are the things which, yeah. But one of the things I would say is we've discussed that even this morning, numbers in children's services, the numbers itself, you will see I'm going in the report. So I said, once I've got the report which is firm, I will brief, even if it's not in the executive public domain. The numbers over the last 2 years, 3 years, between 22-23 and 23-25, the numbers has not gone up significantly. But what has gone up over 3 years, the average cost by nearly 140%. And that's the area which we are taking. So in terms of managing the demand, I think it's being managed. Is of course the safeguarding and the need of the children is paramount, but the department has managed by and large the numbers. In terms of residential placement, the average cost has gone up. Yeah. So to my knowledge, yeah, I think we factored as much as possible in this. Yeah. Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes, Councillor Shaw, you want a second go?
He's saying some of the things you say that I can understand, but some of it don't make sense. How can you have the number of SEN children in the town that qualify for social care going up, but the numbers requiring school transport going down? Would it be possible to pull the figure out about how many children in the town would qualify for SEN transport but are no longer taking it up? Because my concern is it's becoming so dear to get the taxis with escorts and everything else that the kids qualify for that education, but the parents aren't taking it up because they can't afford it. And if we're making cuts, what stops kids getting education what they qualify for, I'd be very, very concerned about that indeed. So would it be possible, you know, your figures, as much as I like your figures, Dad, but how can we say that we're getting more people in need of social care, more youngsters in need of social care, but the amount of youngsters qualifying for, or young adults qualifying for SEN transport is going down? That just doesn't make sense anywhere.
I can clarify that, Chair. What I said, the numbers was not for transport. What we're saying, the big overspend in children's services, the reason the overspend is residential placement. So those kids, yeah. So it's not the transport cost, which was a transport cost I will get back to from officers. But what we're saying is those who are on residential placement, the numbers by and large has not increased significantly over 3 years. I will produce those figures, it's in our report. But the cost of those residential placement, that has gone up significantly. And that's what is mainly driving that overspend in children's services. So, but I will get the more detail about the SEN, the transport, the PTU, the family's costs and everything. So I will try to get a much more comprehensive report, Chair. Yeah.
Yes.
I just want to know, kind of a little bit off the back of what these councillors are saying, in terms of trajectory, at the moment there has been an increase in births. Who knows, in the next 5 years, I'm expecting that those numbers of children that need to access SEND provisions as well as transport is going to go up. So have you kind of, although you're saying that some of the numbers in terms of the children that are in children's care homes and things like that, that's stabilised, but in terms of the birth rates going up and the need for SEND going up, are we able to kind of keep up with that? And are you sort of planning ahead for that? Because I would expect that there would still be a lot of children that will have SEND needs, may even have safeguarding needs, may need to have transport. On top of that, we still have a really long waiting list of young people and children who are waiting to be diagnosed with SEND needs. Yeah, so in terms of assessment, so what are you doing to, like, do you have a plan B to kind of fall back on if the numbers go up? Because obviously we don't want to carry on spiralling into debt. We want to see where we can make efficiencies rather than go backwards. So have you kind of thought of that, and what are you factoring in?
Yeah, so I don't want to go too much in because there's other reports which we have to, but you're absolutely right. Both adult social care, homelessness, and children. We look at doing projections, okay? Whether it's a linear projection or not, and we look at what we did a linear progression of the cost of average cost of placement, and if it goes the way, if it's not managed, then it's a big gap in the budget. So in terms of numbers, we know, we have seen the number of special education need transport has gone up. Those care plans has gone up. So this is being factored, and that's what you will see the budget for children has increased. So when we're working on the 26-27 budget, we are looking at growth and how much that growth looks like, inflation growth, pay award growth, demographic growth, and especially in educational need, what that growth looks like, and that's being built in the 26-27 budget. And if you look at last year's budget, I think we've put in the region of 18 million, we mean the council, and that covers in children, in adult social care, and special education needs transport as well. So, but at the same time is, as I said, the need, the requirement of the children is paramount, but we are trying to see, like some of the transport, if you're hiring a car, if some of our internal transport can be cheaper. So those are the things we are looking at, how we can provide a better value from all the infrastructure, all the equipment, all the vehicles which we have. So those are the things where we are trying to see we can make better use of that. Yeah. But in terms of those three areas, the demand is going up. Yeah, the cost is going up. Yeah. Some council in terms of when you talk about high needs block, and I think some of the members mentioned, some council, the high needs block is costing quite a lot. Yeah. Some council has got a big gap in the high needs block, which if they put it in the books, yeah. So, yeah, it's a challenging environment. Yeah, it's a challenging not for the council, it's challenging for residents, challenging for everybody and challenging for central government as well. Yeah. Thank you.
Any more? Yes.
Has there been any additional tasking included in these forecasts, or are they as per normal budget rules? So have there been any additional savings initiatives included?
So the current budget, there's two things which happen. Okay, I think probably the 6th of January meeting, Chair, we're already having it now, but that's fine. I think I'm sure on the budget line. So when we prepare the budget, okay, we normally prepare the budget based on the Q2. That's why we spend quite a lot of time to get these Q2 forecasts as close as possible. So normally some council will work on Q1, Q2 and get into the forecast. So when we prepared the budget last year, we worked on Q2. But there was more pressures came in Q3, Q4. But by the time Q3 is coming out, the budget is already gone to the council. Yeah. So right now, coming back to your point, we're trying to predict much better. Yeah. We're trying to say, okay, now we've got Q2, what that looks like by end of March. It's very much an exercise of trying to do some scenario and see what it looks like. Coming back to your point then, so once this happened, in adult social care as well, when we look at, yeah, but not to that level, but still, so we put significant 18 million in adult social care, just the demographic growth, we put 6 million. So once the budget was out, and when we come to the first couple of months, and we'll say, okay, but Q3, Q4 should. So in terms of adult social care, we started the deficit recovery plan, and we included 1.3 million of more savings on top of what was in the budget. So that is on target to be delivered. And we're on target, like potentially to deliver another 650 to deal with the 25-26 deficit. So when you look at adult social care, around 2.7 million, the plan is to deal with a deficit recovery plan for 25.2 million. So trying to contain that. Children is much more complex, is much more, yeah, you won't have one case in adult which costs $500,000, but children you have. So it's much more, 1 or 2 cases can blow the budget by 2 million. So children, we're trying to be a bit more. So there are projects like when we talk about Wigmore Hall, so that project is taking longer to deliver. But once Wigmore Hall get into place, we're expecting there will be savings. And then we're looking at how we encourage sort of in-house fostering rather than agency, which costs more. So those are the things already in pipeline. And those, when we start deliver, will have part-year impact this year, but have a full-year impact next year. But coming back, 1.3 million is additional for adult social care. Yeah, you will see when the table will take you through that. Yeah, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, well, thank you for that, Dev. We have then asked for 2 further reports. Yep, everybody comfortable with that? Okay, we move on then to item 9, which is the debt write-offs.
Okay. Good evening. I'm Andrew Gardner, a Service Delivery Manager in the Revenues and Benefits Department, and I'm requesting in the report for your recommendation to take to the Executive to approve these write-offs, as these debts proposed for write-offs are not collectible. These debts are for housing benefit overpayments and council tax, as detailed in the enclosed appendix, and in line with the council's financial regulations, as they are over 10,000, they need to be approved to be written off. A housing benefit overpayment can occur when a claimant has been paid more than they're entitled to, and this normally occurs when we have not been notified of any changes in a claimant's income, someone new moving in or moving house. Basically, a change to their circumstances that results in more income for them where we haven't been notified. The majority of the debts we are requesting to be written off housing benefit overpayments are due to insolvency or and we are unable to collect these debts. One is deceased and there is no estate, and one is where we have used everything available to us to trace the claimant but have been unable to. The council tax debts, obviously self-explanatory. Again, we're requesting these to be written off. Again, half of them are due to insolvency, where we're being unable to collect these debts. One is deceased and there's no estate again, and the other half we've used everything again available to try and trace the taxpayer but have been unable to. I'm therefore requesting your recommendation to take this to the Executive on the 12th of January for these write-offs to be approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor Farouk got in first, and I'll take you second.
Thank you, Chair. Could you tell me this is one-off, is it? To the write-off.
Sorry?
Is that one-off?
One-off, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, one-off.
I've got a few questions. One being, first of all, why do we let some of these amounts are quite significant? They're more than the 10,000. They're quite beyond it for some. Like we've got one for 21,000, another for 34,000. So why have we let it get that far, firstly? Secondly, some of these, like the dates that they are for relating back to, they're quite old. So why haven't we recovered it previously? And in the cases where people have passed away, where we've got a debt for 34,000, were there no assets where we could recover some of these costs from?
No, as I say, with the deceased ones, there was no assets. We do inquire to see if there is assets. I agree with you, some of the debts are old, but that's because we've been constantly trying to collect them. And when we do that, with council tax and housing benefit overpayments. But I say, unfortunately, when we've tried to collect them, then they've gone into insolvency, so we are no longer unable to.
So is there, sort of, just to kind of clarify and get it straight in my head, I mean, if I was a business, I wouldn't wait that many years to be able to collect a debt from somebody. I'd set it within that particular financial year. So why have we waited? I get it, as a council, you would give more than just one financial year, but why have we left it for that many years? Because obviously, if we leave it for too long, people's circumstances are bound to change, and it is going to come to the point where people can't afford to pay. So why have we let it go on for that long?
Yes, just respond. Some of that, and Andrew will correct me, but I've seen sometimes we take a debt and we take to the court, and the court will say that person can pay £10. And then you put an attachment of earnings on that £10, and after 3-4 months, that person will come back and will say, but I can't even pay £10. So do an assessment, sometimes goes to the court, so reduce it to £8. Yeah. So sometimes that person will pay £10, but some of the debt, Andrew, if we collect at the same rate, the debt might take 30 years to collect. Yeah. So we do take it to the court. We do, council tax has got it there, we put summons and everything, but sometimes when it goes to magistrate court, yeah. But at the same time, we have to take into account, and you're absolutely right, some of the debt we try to collect, but some of that are quite old as well. But in these circumstances, maybe there has been an arrangement for £10 or £20 or £30. But even if we get £10, £20 or £30, we do collect, because there was this thinking at some point, if it's some debt is we have collecting £10, it might cost benefit-wise, it might be costing us more money to collect £10 rather than the £10 itself. But we still say, if we start to say write-off because we don't collect £10, what the message will send out. So, and those are these debts which is sometimes has built up, and we have been collecting, and at some point that person, some of them we will look at the court, they will say £10 or £5. If you got 5,000-6,000 debt, it can accumulate. But what I can tell Andrew is here is in terms of the council tax and council tax mainly is very much driven by the legislation. So you have to send first reminder, second reminder, summons letter, court, and yeah. So it's very much. But at the same time, we also, you will see from Equifax, we look at the person's ability to pay as well. Yeah. So we can push and yeah, but we take into account the ability to pay, and sometimes we struggle to pay. So sometimes when you push it around to the court as well, we say we will just add another court cost, summons cost, and everything. We just increase the debt. So it's not easy sort of in terms of council tax and benefit debt, because somebody, if there is an overpayment and that person genuinely made a mistake and didn't declare an income, and suddenly we've paid sort of 3,000-4,000, and we say now we are clawing back from so court will say £10 or £20 because those are still on benefits. So it's difficult. But just to put it in context, so when you look at the council tax debt, total amount we are requesting to write off is around 87. The total council tax invoice or income we raise, you will see in paragraph 11, is 130 million. Yeah, so you've got to. So when we set, you will see when we talk about council tax base later. So when we start, we raise 130 million of council tax, and we collect precept for precepting, like adult social care precept, and we set the council tax at 96.5% collection. So by and large, we're starting with a position to say we're not going to collect 100. So there's a built-in a provision for bad debts to say for X or Y reason we won't collect up to 100%. So that's why you will see even when we're writing off this debt, it won't have any impact on the bottom line because when you get old, we build a significant amount of provision. So business rate as well, when we say is what is the collection rate, and the return is an area which has got pocket of deprivation and everything. So our collection is not as high as an area where it's very affluent. So when I will take you the tax base, you will see how we compute the tax base. But coming back to you, but absolutely, we have to do everything because council tax business rate, that's the main source of our income to deliver key services. So 1% in council tax is nearly 800,000. So it's important to collect as much, but you have to do that balance. But you're absolutely right, is if those areas where we can collect, we'll do that. Thank you.
So with bearing in mind everything that you've said and reflecting on everything, £203,526 is still quite a significant amount. So to avoid getting to that stage again, do you think that we perhaps need to look at the way that we generate our sort of, or how we work out who owes us what, how much benefit they're entitled to, and what they need to pay? Do you think that there's efficiencies that need to take place in terms of the systems that we use? Because it seems like perhaps there is a delay in the system and we're already making these payments automatically to people and then we're missing that information at that time and then all of a sudden you've got this debt that people owe and then they can't pay us back. So maybe systems-wise we need to take another look at how it is that we generate some of this information.
Absolutely spot on. So what we are doing now, we use, because everybody, I think people sometimes open a letter and they will put it and they will say, we come back and after 2 weeks, it's yeah. So everybody use mobile now, yeah. So we are using a service, VoiceScape. So what VoiceScape is, when somebody owes us, there will be text message on their mobile. And that is proving very successful, yeah. What we would like, ideally, is not to take people through the legal process or to court. That's the last thing. It's not win-win. So we are sending text messages now through VoiceScape, and when somebody owes some money, they will get a text. This, yeah, before we start to go into the process of summon, but can you ring us, make an arrangement? And it has been successful because they've got the things there and then they can ring, make an arrangement. So you will see the number of people making arrangement is going up significantly. We can show you the data, yeah? So number of people. And this is being used in housing. We're trying to expand this. And people, when they get the text, they respond. Get a letter, so we'll put it there, we'll come back. So absolutely right, we're trying to do that as well. And when somebody let's say they are behind 1 or 2 installments, it's very easier to make an arrangement for £200 and rather than 6 months down the line. It's very difficult, yeah? Because people, when they do the budget, sometimes people don't, yeah, so 6 months, if they've used that, they don't have the budget. So then it becomes difficult. Then they make an arrangement and they can't whole arrangement. So that VoiceScape is working. So you're right. You have to make sure if somebody with an arrangement can pay, of course we do that. That's the first thing we do is we can look at the circumstances, look at the benefits they're getting. Because some of them are maybe entitled to council tax reduction scheme. So we say, oh, you're applying for all your grants. We point out to CAB as well if there are things, because we can't provide financial advice, but CAB can. So we point out. So we do as much as to help, because council tax is a tax. Yeah. So it's quite similar to one. Bandy is quite 1800. So yeah. So thank you. But thanks for the question. Thank you.
Anwar Malik next.
Thank you, Chair. I've got a couple of questions. First one is, how many of the proposed write-off debts you're talking about, yeah? In this, the administrative error is involved or any council mistake. I want to bring your attention in, the few cases came into my attention, like someone been reporting their income regularly to council, like as a self-employed person, and later on he received a bill after 10 years, 35K, all of a sudden, yeah? So I believe if his income being considered, being checked regularly, and council would bill them on time what, the benefit he was supposed to get, this shouldn't happen. Now that person, if he become bankrupt, so that will cost 35K to the council. So where is the due diligence being undertaken? First question, then I will ask you the next one.
Yeah, so unless I know the detail of those cases, I'm sure after the meeting, if you write to Andrew, we can look at that, but I don't know the detail. But in principle, I think if a debt is 6 years, it's statute barred. So I don't know whether, Andrew, can you go back and raise a debt 10 years back, Andrew, yeah?
If there's been a change in circumstances, you can raise the debt. The problem is collecting it with the 6-year rule.
Yeah. So if you can come back to that specific 35,000, 10 years, I find that a bit, so we can look into this, yeah? But normally, in terms of council tax, coming back on council tax, okay? So we've got inspectors who go and visit, so whether the property is occupied, not occupied, yeah? So but we can't look at everything, so we do regularly, we do things like a single person discount review. So we've got file which we get from National Fraud Initiatives as well, and they do data matching. So if somebody is claiming single person discount, and that person, we've got information that is not single, there's other people living, we go and we write to them to say, can you clarify? So there are a lot of things we do. Inspectors go and visit properties, like business case, if they split properties, is it, yeah. So we do a lot of things, yeah, but there's a limit in terms of resources, how much we can do. So the point you're making, yes, we look at those things. The last thing we would like is to send somebody a bill for 6 or 7 years, because collecting it itself it's difficult, yeah. So no, we try to be up to date. In terms of benefits, it can be slightly difficult, because we used to have a data matching, which called the NFI, every 2 years. So if somebody has got savings or has got the bank account, and those have not been declared, you will pick it up after 2 years. But now we've got a much more real-line information, so we try to pick up those as early as possible. So if somebody has been claiming benefits and they started work, and for some reason they forgot to we should be able to pick up as early as possible and not have big, yeah. So the one which you're seeing here, they're quite old, and the system was not there at that point. Some we pick up after 2 or 3 years. And 2 or 3 years, somebody has can benefit, easily it can run into 8,000, 9,000. But now I think I'm correct with this NFI, with this the real-time information where people declare, we pick it from HMRC. So hopefully we won't be having those big debt. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's the way that the universal credit is at the moment, when they report their income and they determine their, benefit. I think that will effective for the council as well if we adopt that procedure. Also, from 2020, that's 19 point, the report says that 19.5 million been collected, and the target, and its annual target is 3.2 million. My question is that this, what you collected, it was a normal procedure, or how many of this been through court, or how much from this been taken from your ongoing benefits? So have you got any?
We've got all the information, but we don't have it in hand now, but we can produce those. So things we take through code, some we put attachment of earnings, so people make arrangement. So that's quite a detailed report. We make a note of that. We can come back on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got Councillor Idris next, and then I'll come back to you.
Thank you, Chair. So
Andrew, just want to understand, obviously, Appendix 1 and 2 of the report. And obviously, I understand where the debtors either become insolvent or deceased and unable to collect. But looking at all the ones that have absconded, quick sort of count up, it's about £46,000 of both council tax and housing benefit debt. And obviously, I see the lines where all avenues are being exhausted. And I understand that some of these debts are more than 6 years old and are difficult to collect. What procedures do we have in place now where obviously we can't collect a debt in a timely manner? Do we are outsourcing that debt, or are we just trying to collect it ourselves? Because obviously as time ticks on, it gets more and more difficult to collect that debt. So I just want to see what robust plans we've got in place that we don't find ourselves in this predicament again.
Yeah, we have procedures in place that we constantly are tracing the debtors. If they move out, they don't let us know they move out, and then we use systems like Equifax, which is a credit search, and we can use that, and we've got procedures in place internally that we're constantly doing tracing on these debtors. So that's what I say, really. Yeah.
I can just add something to that. Once we write off the debt, it doesn't disappear from our books. So if somebody, in terms of NFI or Equifax, if we can trace them, then we'll send them a bill. So it's there, and then we've got instances where we manage to trace, and then we write back the debt. Yeah, we reinstate those debt and we start collecting. Yeah.
Councillor Khan.
Thank you, Chair. As far as individual cases are concerned, I mean, I get a lot of them and I pass them on to you. You guys have been amazing and you address them very quickly. So thank you for that. But I think it's a system-wide issue, which probably you got better at it now, but I don't think that we quite got there yet. I did put that challenge out to Atika as well. But when we had that presentation around fraud, it was amazing to see how the scale of the fraud on benefits, and particularly with housing benefits, it's not just about individuals who are finding it difficult to pay the debt back, it's how, whether intentionally or unintentionally, people are given that information at the time of calculation. I think this is where the systems need to talk to one another, from housing benefit to universal credit, so that we prevent this from happening in the first place. I think if we do that, the amount could reduce quite significantly. I'm trying to understand, since Atika have come, has she really sort of developed a new system, or what systems are you talking about which seem to be more robust now, so that we can be assured that, you know, we're focusing more on prevention?
Yeah, so we are working across department now. So there's regular meeting between housing and the benefits. Yeah, I'll give you a similar example. We've got the duty to house people if they are homeless or on the street. So once we put those residents in a hotel, then we incur those costs. Yeah, and then we say, but that person will have to apply for benefits. Okay, so then the housing department will make sure they provide the accommodation. Benefits department will start with the process. But sometimes happen is we keep on chasing 3-4 months, and we don't. So we say, okay, we stop. And sometimes as an applicant, the person will just leave. Yeah. So those areas. But by working with housing benefit and housing, if somebody is not producing their form for benefits claim is delayed, we mention housing. So housing can go and have a discussion with them, say, look, you've got to produce all your information so that we can claim the benefits on your behalf. So that work is happening. And in terms of the areas where we are working together as well is in terms of supported living. Supported living is an area where the demand, the need has gone higher. So working with adult social care, housing and benefits. So the benefits and the financial assessment team are getting involved quite a lot, so working across, yeah. The other thing we are looking at, and then the chief exec is quite keen on that, and coming back to you say, a single view of debt. It's not easy to make 6 or 7 systems talk to each other. The benefit system is very specific, council tax is specific, housing is specific, other social care control and specifics for every. So we're trying to see, okay, if we can find out some sort of way to say, here's somebody has got 6 or 7 dead, how we can try to help them to manage that. So that is happening. So housing is getting a new system now, and that is being implemented. So that system might be able to help us. But at the same time, we're looking at across in terms of using other systems where we can produce information, where we can look across the department. But if you have one system across the council, it's much easier, but the different system, the benefit system, council tax, business rates, parking, different system, housing, different system, and those systems doesn't talk to each other. So we're trying to see how we can at officers level have those information, those data, and make much more meaningful information out of them. Yeah.
Dave, I have a question regarding if you can have a look on page number 6, paragraph 13. In accordance with the Goods Financial Management Principle, the Council has made a bad debt 97% for all outstanding Council. The provision recognizes that the proportion of the authority debt will be proved irrevocable, irrecoverable. What are the causes that some portions are irrecoverable? What is the reason? And what are the measures we are taking in future to control those ones? Because 97% bad debts are too much. First question. Secondly, if you can see on Appendix 1, there are some insolvency cases, lots of one. Some have some notes, some are not. Why they have what are the current situation? We are in the final process, final stage of insolvency, and how long it take time? Why they are going to insolvency? What are the reason? Can you please guide us?
So the first, in terms of the two things, okay, one is the collection rate when it comes to council tax base, is when we raise an invoice for council tax, let's say £1,000, on average we say we'll collect 9,750. No, 9,650, because we built an element that we won't be collecting 100%. Yeah, so we set up a provision for that at that time. The 97%, because as members clearly said, when a debt becomes 2 or 3 years old, that person is still paying council tax plus an old debt. It's very difficult. So we take a prudent approach, and to say first year I think it's 33%, and we say it come to 60%. So after 5-6 years, it gets close to 100%. Yeah. Now 100% provision doesn't mean we write off. But this is a provision. I'm sure you are aware. Yeah. The real debt is what is coming in front of you. This is debt. So we have a provision. As and when we are writing off, we take it off that provision. And if, let's say, in 1 year, for argument's sake, if we set aside 3.5% of provision, but we perform better, that goes into our collection fund. And that you will see when we prepare the budget, we say the collection fund has done better. And if you do better, you will see last year there was a collection fund surplus. So that money is not lost. If we put 97.5, if we end up doing 98.5, next year we have a surplus. So that surplus helps to deliver services. Yeah. So we try to be prudent, especially when you talk about benefits. It's not easy. Yeah. So adult social care debt, housing debt, benefit debt is not easy. Council tax debt is not as challenging as benefit or adult social care debt. But council tax as well is yeah, you end up with. I think some council, I have to say, they've got a high rate of collection, but those are very affluent areas, and yeah, so return is not, yeah, we've got pockets of deprivation, we've got sort of, yeah, so it's not really. 97 is okay when you compare with our statistical neighbors. 97.5 is okay in terms of collection rate. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, Max. Apologies, I missed your putting your hand up earlier.
That's fine. Just so I'm understanding correctly that you're planning to write off the whole of the debt, but where they've got an IVA, you're still going to collect on that?
Yeah, that's correct, yeah.
Okay. What, from the figures that are in the report, there seems to be about 654,000 of debt that are under 10,000. What percentage of those are you planning to write off?
Those are the ones that are waiting to be approved to be written off.
But we can give you the figure. Yeah, we'll write to you. We'll give you the exact amount. Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll take a note of
And
that.
how many individuals does that cover?
Yeah, I can write to you. I can let you know that. I haven't got our details here.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Shaw.
I was just thinking of 40 odd years I've sat here now, and once a year listen to this same discussion taking place about how much we write off. But if we're ambitious, I just think, you know, there is a way we could move forward, helping the council, private tenants, landlords, our own housing tenants. Why can't we, one of the biggest obstacles we've got now in council tax collection, housing benefit collection, is when people get sanctioned on universal credit. They get sanctioned, they've got no money in, we don't get any money further down the line, or we wait 3 or 4 years to get that £5 or £10 a month off them. Why can't we, as a council, be ambitious enough to write to the LGA and the government and say we believe that the housing element of universal credit should be excluded from any sanctions of people what are in receipt of universal credit. The simple reason is, first of all, you won't get private landlords doing evictions because they still be getting the housing element of the universal credit. I don't like people being sanctioned at all, but the landlord will still get the housing element, we still get the housing element. There'll be no debt because of overpayment of housing benefit for people what are in receipt of universal credit, because that housing element of that universal credit will still be paid even if it's direct by us or through us. We can sit here for another 40, well, some of us can't, we can sit here for another 40 odd years looking at the same report every year, or we can try through the LGA to mount a campaign nationwide to get the housing element of universal credit changed. I'm not saying it'll be successful, but there's absolutely nothing to stop us asking that question, and we ask the executives to support us in it.
So I've captured. I'm not technical. I'll get back with Councillor Shaw exactly, and then I'll make a note. We'll do that. But one of the things I would say is, any business has got bad debts. What the level of bad debts? The biggest cost in a bank account is bad debts. Yeah. What we are trying to do here is whether that level of debt which is being written off is higher than the provision which we set aside. When you take through the tax-based report, you say 97.5. So when you say 97.5, we say we are knowing that for all sort of reasons, people losing their job or people health issues and everything, they can't be. Yeah. Whether that level, when you look at 97.5 compared to other neighbouring authorities, not statistical neighbours, not neighbouring, but some authorities are quite affluent. Yeah. So whether that collection rate is reasonable. If let's say, if we say put a collection rate of 90%, then I'll be really worried. We say we are not collecting what we should collect. But for a council like Luton, 97.5 we set, and we have been increasing that rate. I think it's 96.5. So it was, at COVID it was 94, so as and when we are getting better, we keep on increasing that rate. But the point you're making is, the complexity is universal credit, and I'll take that I will, if Chair, I will liaise with Councillor Shaw and get the exact things. and I'll take it to the department and say whether we can write to LG and see what we can do. Yeah.
Oh, the ones at the very top, well, aren't going to like it, but I'm not too concerned what they like or not. But my view is, a few years ago when the average council rent was only £92 a week, so it was less than £400 a month. Average council rent now 112, it's 126, sorry, so it's over £500. But the average rents in the private sector, £1,250, £1,300, £1,400 is nothing unusual now. You get sanctioned for 8 weeks. You're sanctioned for 8 weeks, all of a sudden, you've got a debt of nearly £3,000, which you're never going to be able to pay back, because the reason you can't pay it is you're on universal credit and you're being sanctioned. So it's going to become unpayable. In 4 years' time, we sit here and we have to write some of that debt off. If that was paid, if there was a guaranteed payment of the housing element part of universal credit to the private landlords, it'd be a saving on the council because you wouldn't be doing so many evictions in the private sector because the landlord would still be getting the money. It'd be a saving on us. It'll be a saving your officers' time. Hopefully, the one thing I hate, we wouldn't have to go for court orders against people because we'll have had the money in anyway. But I suppose that's too easy and far too easy for the people at the top of that to complicate things to make it work. But I see no reason why we shouldn't at least ask the LGA to start a campaign with the government to see if it can work.
Yeah. Benefit legislation is one of the most complex legislation. I think every week they get circular. It's just when I see those circulations, God, it's complex. I appreciate the work they do. Very technical. But the point you're making, in any legislation, especially quite a lot of the benefits going to part of universal credit, it's another layer of complexity. But now I've made a note. I will take it to a department and to the officers and see what we can do. Yeah.
Right. Is the general agreement with what Councillor Shaw is suggesting? If there is, we need... Okay, fine, I understand that. But we need then to decide which way we want to deal with this. We could ask the Chief Executive to approach the LGA to ask for support from other members to petition the government, or we could ask the executive to do that for us. Direct to the Chief Executive to ask him to raise it with the LGA with a view to raising support from other local authorities for the proposal. Fine, okay, I'm perfectly comfortable with that. Seems to have general agreement. If you could liaise with Murray, please, to make sure we've got the right terms. Okay, everybody happy with that? Yeah. Right, does anybody else want to contribute? Because I've got a couple of things I want to say. Paragraph 14 talks about the progress that's been made in collecting debts. I recall we were told a few meetings ago that there was a dedicated debt collection team had been engaged on fixed term contracts. Is that team still in place? And is there any move to make them permanent, please?
There's few things happening on debt, but you're absolutely right, that was raised. So there is an additional resource on financial assessment for adult social care, and that's we've recruited for adult social care because doing reviews for adult social care, so that team is in place, and that team, there is a sort of expectation that team will bring additional income. Then there's an additional resource which we brought, somebody who is an expert in looking at debt across the council. So doing department by department, say, coming back to the point you made, whether the process is working or the system is working, whether there's things we can do, whether the recovery is taking place on time, whether invoices are raised. That's in place. That is preparing a report and he started with adult social care. He's going into debtors. And yeah. Now, specifically from your point, in terms of council tax, yes, we put additional resources in council tax team. And when I will produce, if Andrew make a note, you will see our amount of all debt we are collecting, both for council tax, business rates, and benefit. We hit our target. So I will get those information. So we set target at the beginning of each year, has all debt, council tax, benefit. So I know because every fortnight we meet with the portfolio holder, and we hit. So I will produce those figures to say what was the target at the beginning of the year and how much we've collected. But all three areas, even financial assessment, we've collected more. Yeah. So I'll get that to you, Chair. Yeah. So you're absolutely right. There was resources put there.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, we've agreed to approach the Chief Executive. Okay, so I guess then, apart from that, we thank the officers for the report and note it. Moving on to setting the council tax base then.
Okay, thanks, Chair. So I will try to put it in simple terms, but I think we've covered quite a lot, okay? So what happened is, I'll put it in simple terms, then I'll go in the report if you want to discuss. So if we have 60,000 properties or 70,000 properties, for council tax purposes, we have to split into Band A, Band B, Band C, Band D, and everything, yeah? And then we convert everything into a Band D. So then this is what we said, the tax base is how many Band D where we'll raise a council tax bill, okay? So when we've got a property, and that's coming back to the point you raised, if that property, if one property has got somebody who is single, they can claim single person discount. So if we set a Band D, what was the last Band D? It was 1,800 or something like that? Yeah. So if a property equivalent band is 1,800, if that person is single, then they get, how much they get single person discount? 25%. So even if we raise a bill to that property Band D, the amount we collect is 75%. So when you've got 70,000 properties Band D, and you take single person discount, the council tax support scheme, which will cost in the region of 12-13 million, roughly. So those are people who are disabled, has got all sorts of scheme where we support. So when we start with a big number of 140, 150 million, when you take all the discount and everything, it comes to last year, I think it was 140 million. So for us to prepare our council budget, we need to know potentially how much Band D equivalent properties we have next year. And once we agree on that, and then even if we say we've got 10,000 properties, then we say what percentage are we going to collect? If we put in our council tax budget, we collect 100%, that's not reasonable. So we say 97.5, 96.5, that goes in our budget. And once we set that, then we monitor every quarter to see are we performing or underperforming. And that's come to the point as if we perform more, we get collection surplus, if we perform less, collection deficit, and the percentage of 3.4.5 takes into account that there will be an element of bad debt. So that's a bit just general in simple terms why we've got more properties but less Band D, because 70 or 80% of properties in Luton are Band A to C, which is we collect less than 18. Some areas, affluent, has got 3, 4, 5 bedroom houses, they Band E, F, whatever. So when we raise the council tax 1%, we might end up collecting 800, but a 1% increase in council tax in authorities where we've got the higher, they can collect 2,000. Yeah. So in terms of resource, our resources are quite restricted. So that report takes you, if you, it gives the explanation on paragraph 19, how it has been arrived. So you will see the total number of dwellings, 85,000, and then we take all the exemption, discounts and everything, it comes to 97,932, which is, as I said, 96.5%. So that's if the chair agrees and the members agree, this will go to the executive, and that will be used to set the budget, 57,932 as Band D equivalent. And so we compare it as Band D is much easier. So there is a form which has gone through part of CTB1, which we've done in October, and we have to make the return to October, because that's also get used when the government will announce our finance settlement, how much is your resource you can raise, and that will be important for them to look at it. And if you look at on paragraph 10, Chair, you will see the number of properties which the tax base has been going up over the last 4 years has been in the region of 1,200 up to 2,000, but it has gone down significantly, 583, and I've asked Andrew, mean there is, compared to prior years, there is less development. Yeah, but that might take up because of somebody might, if economy picks up or the housing market picks up or cost of building properties start to go down, because that's a challenge now, building is a cost. So that's why you will see it has slowed down. But still there will be 583, our tax base goes above 583. So I'm quite happy to take any questions, Chair.
No hands? Yes, Matt Fry, please.
Can you talk me through the exemptions, second home, and those sort of things, and the number of houses, 6 months more, and how they're exempt?
Before you answer that, I can't be the only councillor who's got totally confused over not only exemptions, but those who pay a premium above council tax. I hesitate to ask for a further report to come to this group, although if we have to, that's the way we'll have to deal with it. It may be easier if you could just simply provide a simple one-page explanation by email to all of the members to explain. For example, we don't believe second homes should be exempt from council tax. There should be a premium, and there probably is. But let's have it explained, because we've all got so totally confused over who's paying over and above and who's not paying at all. Are you in agreement that a simple explanation by email is probably the easiest way to get us all to understand this better? Yeah.
Yes, Chair, we'll do that. I myself I get confused, so that's why he's the expert. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Is anybody else, because I've just got one other item I want to raise, if I can find it. Where is it? Oh yes, here we go. All this doing it on the computer rather than on bits of paper is all very well, but it sometimes takes you a little longer. Yes, the grid underneath paragraph 19, the final one, talks about the 3.5% of council tax which is not budgeted to be collected because you can't, equates to 2,100 Band D equivalent properties. Now, something like 83% of the homes in Luton are actually in Bands A, B and C. So it's all very well saying it's 2,100 Band D equivalents, but how many homes actually is that? It's got to be considerably more than 2,100. If you know the answer, fine, let's have it. If not, then could you let us have it, please?
Yeah, so everything when we produce tax basis, we convert it to Band D. And why we do that? Because it's much easier to say 3.5% is 2,101, as the chair mentioned. But in reality, because the point you made, very valid point, 80% of our property Band A, B and C, so individual household who will struggle to pay based on the 3.5 will be much more than 2,101, because this is a band D. So we can extrapolate it and say these are, because at the end of the day, when we raise the invoice, we don't raise invoice 57,000 tax bill on band D. We raise more. So we look at it, I think we can look at CTB1 that can give us. So we can work out the numbers to say, in terms of real families, how many families will struggle to pay because of the 96% collection. We won't be able to collect more than 96. That's the estimate we have. So you will see, yeah, there's more people we assume we won't struggle to pay. Yeah. And that's the normal way which the council tax is. There's a legislation we have to follow the way this is computed. But you've absolutely made the valid point, is that it's more people, the more houses which will end up struggle to pay.
Yeah, I think we understand why you express it this way and why you have to move on to band D equivalents. But I still think we need to be told exactly how many homes are actually included in that 2,100 band D equivalents. So if you could advise members... We can yes, let's say for argument's sake, okay, we've got, let's say, 1 band D or 5 band D, but the equivalent is 8 properties because you've got band A, B, and C. But right now we don't know next year who is going to struggle in which was it a band A? It might be band A, people can start to pay, but band B start to struggle. So that's why we do an average. But if you say to us, right now, I don't know, because Andrew is quite busy. If you say, out of one thing might help, Chair, here, I'm trying to help. It's a very valid point, because at the end of the day, we send bill to people, home, families. What we can do is, part of the write-off, and I'm sure Andrew will kick me under the chair here, part of the write-off, which is, the 3.5 is an estimate, but we know we're writing off. We can say, part of the write-off, how many band A, band B, band C, who are we are writing off. So we can see which band people are struggling. Yeah, we can do that. That will give you actual data to say, hey, those people who are writing off and they fall in band A or band B, band C. But this one is going forward. It's very difficult right now to say how many in band A will struggle to pay. But we can give you the actual data for 6 months, Chair, if that's helpful. Thank you. Only one other point which I can't, please forgive me, I can't resist the temptation to point out how unfair the whole council tax process is when I explain in a respectable newspaper I read that, for example, in our fairly modest home, we pay £300 a year more council tax than Buckingham Palace does. And please explain to me how you can get anything more unfair than that. Okay, I guess we simply note the report. Yeah. Thank you. We move on to the work programme. I need to switch documents. Give me a second. Anybody have any comments on the work programme? Anything they'd like to add? Just come to you in a second. Okay, thank you.
It just seems that we've got quite a lot on the first one back in January. Would there be, or are you expecting some of these items not to be presented in January, on the 6th of January? It just seems like there's quite a lot going on and they seem like quite hefty items.
Yeah, the 1st January one does look a bit full, doesn't it? But I'm scanning down it. I'm having difficulty finding anything that could be postponed. or for that matter, anything that could be brought forward. If you've got a suggestion, I'm happy to listen to it, but I agree with you, it is a fairly heavy programme.
Yeah, it's just obviously I'm just thinking in terms of timing. If the doors close at 9 o'clock, we're still debating. And if there is no solution, then, I mean, that's fine. But I guess if I could leave it with yourself to have a think.
Okay, I'll ask Marie if she could have a look at it and talk to me if she could find a way of evening it out a little bit. But there's nothing jumps out to me as being obviously capable of being postponed or brought forward. Dev has got a contribution.
Just an idea, Chair, here to help. It's a lengthy meeting and the revenue budget quarter 2 is coming. So a suggestion, because the report gets dispatched 5 working days before that, if you got any specific question, write to me. Yeah. So then I come with some answers, and then some of them, then debate can take place. But sometimes you will have 80% probably will deal with those. Yeah. And that might speed up the meeting. It's just a suggestion, Chair. Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else? If anyone has an item they really think we should add to the work programme, just contact Debbie James's team and me, and it can be organised. I think that concludes the business in public. We have only one item in private, and that is the agreement of the private minutes from the 27th of October. I propose only to actually go through the process of moving into private if anyone's got anything they want to discuss on those minutes. If all you're going to do is say, yes, sign them, I can't see the point in going into private for that. Okay. Thank you very much indeed for your attendance.